knows which lawyer you should choose. Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. This is an advertisement.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson tries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt. Indeed, it is good to see my friend, Gary C. Johnson.
It is so wonderful again to be here. Hi, guys and gals. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in and hanging out with us. Because, you know, we need friends. Right?
Need them. As you said, Keith, a long time ago, if you've got all the money you want and you've got all the friends you want, then you can be a little nasty human being.
You can have a temper.
You can have a temper. But if you don't have those two things, then you need to be nice to people. And I know I will never have enough friends or enough of the finances either. So I plan on being friendly.
Remember, we're all just human. We all have the basic framework. And that's like in that book when I read it on happiness, if we can come to understand that, it is amazing how easy it is to talk to each other, hang out, laugh, cut up, maybe tell a little gossip or a joke, right?
So in other words, we're all seeking the same thing. We're seeking happiness. No matter what stage of our life we're in, if we're older, younger, doesn't matter our finances, our social status, we're all trying to be happy.
We're moving forward and toward it. I always have to talk a little bit about something to do with law, and we talked last week something about medical records and how bad they are becoming, the keeping of them. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that I've seen. And I really have trouble figuring out how to say it, so I'm gonna try. If you have an ache and a pain, and it's really, really, really bad, talk to a doctor about it, okay? If you have an ache and a pain that is going to be transient and is going to go away, keep your mouth shut. Because that ache and a pain, that doesn't mean a thing, because old Dr. E.D. Roberts, who was a friend of mine, he died a few years ago. When I would just be sitting around talking to him, because he's a friend of mine, about a pain here, a pain there, he'd look at me and say, Gary, just give it a little intelligent neglect, and it'll go away. Most of our pains, and you guys know it, the body has a tendency to take care of itself, and most of our aches and pains go away, or they subside. Now, why am I saying that to you? Once you put that ache or pain that may have only been there for a few days or a week in that medical record, if you later get hurt in a wreck, and now you have a really serious ache and pain in that same area, the defense will pull that old ache and pain record out that you had 5 years ago and say, look at this. He already had that.
Yeah.
He already had that problem. This is somebody, he's trying to get something for nothing now, isn't he? Look at this liar.
Yeah, so you fell asleep on the couch, and because you fell asleep on the couch, your neck was in a crick, and you were sore for a day or two. You go to the doctor and complain about this neck pain. 10 years later, you're in an accident and a guy hits you from behind and gives you severe whiplash. Now, all of a sudden, there's a record showing that you had a pre-existing condition when in fact you didn't.
So I guess if I'm saying to my friends, if it's significant enough to where that you feel you need to really talk to a doctor about it, do it. But if it's just the normal aches and pains of life, I mean, at my age, I could go to a doctor every day and complain about some little pain here or there.
You know,
They go away.
when you started out that, I started laughing because I thought you were going to say, for heaven's sakes, tell a doctor, but stop telling your friends because they don't want to hear about it.
Well, that's a fact. Your friends definitely don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, because I've got one friend that says, if you mention your back one more time, you're going to have problems. I'm tired of hearing it.
Well, see? Now, my old Men's Health book usually has some pretty good stuff in it. This week it has an article on fear. For young men and older men, 41% list the fear of failure as their number one fear. 20% list speaking in public. And I guess the speaking in public is because they're afraid they'll make a fool out of themselves, which is another fear that goes back. So you got about 60% of the fear, the greatest fear of men is the fear of failure. Now think about that. And if you're one of those that's watching this program, I'm telling you, embrace that failure and say, hallelujah, now I've learned something. And be like Abraham Lincoln, go on, don't even look back. Failure is a part of life. It will happen to you. I don't care whether you try to do something or don't try to do something. You will have failures in your life. It's just the way it is. You cannot let that fear of failure control what you're going to do. Again, if you're hesitating to do something because you're afraid you're going to fail, think of the worst thing that could happen to you if you failed. And if that worst thing is they can kill you, cut you up, and put you in a pot and eat you, then let it stand in your way. Otherwise, go forward.
You know, you're absolutely spot on with your article. One time I was in a golf scramble with a really great business person, and we were playing, and it came down to one of us had to try to make this putt. And the gentleman walked over to me and said, I can't putt that. You go do it. And I said, what's the worst that's going to happen? We're either going to miss it or make it. But the pressure and the thought of failure had this individual so tore up that they wouldn't even attempt it. And that was 40% of all men.
And if you add the fear of public speaking to that, which is the same thing as a fear of failure.
Oh, by the way, I missed the putt. I forgot to tell you that. I did it, but I missed it, so yeah.
Yeah.
But that's part of the game. It's failure.
And then in here they rank the failures, okay? The fears. On ordinary fears in the population. Number 1, corruption among government officials. Number 2, pollution of the oceans, the rivers, and our lakes. Number 3, loved ones becoming seriously ill. Number 4, actual pollution of your drinking water. Number 5, fear of people I love dying. Number 6, running out of money. Any of you got that fear? It's a real fear, right?
I would think most of us have that fear.
Number 7 is cyber terrorism. Number 8, extinction of plants and animals. Number 9, fears about global warming and climate change. Number 10, terrorist attacks, biological warfare, identity theft, government or corporation tracking of personal information. The list of fears.
So a lot of those are about our economy, our government, but the personal ones are growing older, illness, loss of our loved ones, I think those are the ones that all of us, all of our friends can relate to, that on a daily basis, those thoughts enter our head.
Okay, let's go to the computer. There's our number if any of you need to. Lexington office, GaryCJohnson.com. In general, make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. Now I want to go back to a book.
All right.
I love books, right? In case you guys don't know, I try to read.
Reading is fantastic, and I know there's something that our friends will notice. It's hard copies. There's a lot of people that like to read from a Kindle or one of their devices, but to me, I'm with you.
That's
there's
me.
just
I have to have a
there's
book.
something about a hardback cover book. Yeah.
This is John C. Maxwell, and the title of this, he's got several books out. The title of this book is The Difference Maker. And remember over the years I've talked to you about Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the things he said in one of his books was he said his parents made him go to the Dale Carnegie course and read the book when he was a junior in high school, and it shaped his life.
Isn't that amazing? And you and I have always talked about the fact that in our school system, I think that's one book that should be taught. The Dale Carnegie book. It should be on the list.
Okay. He talks about attitude. And he says this about attitude. It's not everything. It's just the difference. And he says, I'm amazed at the number of terrible auditioners who respond to blunt criticism from the judges by saying things like, I know I can sing, that's just your opinion. Truthfully, no attitude is strong enough to compensate for a lack of skill. Okay? So does a good attitude make any difference? Absolutely. Attitude is the difference maker. Attitude isn't everything, but it is one thing that can make a difference in your life. Businessman, philanthropist, and author W. Clement Stone stated, there's little difference in people, but the little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it is positive or negative. I also want to give you insight into how to deal with the big five attitude obstacles everyone faces: discouragement, change, problems, fear, and failure. If you're like most people, you have to deal with at least one of those issues every single day. Right, Keith?
Oh, my goodness. I think you deal with all five of them every day. I mean, how many of you out there have ever said, you know, I think I'd like to try this. And just as soon as those words come out of your mouth, there is someone near you that says, that'll never work. There's no way you could do that. You'll fail. You'll lose everything you got. What are you thinking? There's always that person that is there to say that.
This is so important. I'm going to read you those five obstacles again. Discouragement. Change, the fear of change. Problems, the problems you can fear. Plain old fear. And then failure. That's the big obstacles.
And, you know, Gary, what's sad is I'll guarantee you right now that we have a friend watching that had wanted to do something or start a business or go into a field, and because of those five things you've read, they decided not to do it because of all the problems, the fear of failure, the discouragement, and all of that, and that's sad.
Okay, then the next question he's got is, what is attitude? What is an attitude anyway? When you hear the word, what do you think about? I think of attitude as an inward feeling expressed by outward behavior. People always project on the outside what they feel on the inside. Some people try to mask their attitude, and they can fool others for a little while. But that cover-up doesn't last long. Attitude always wiggles its way out. My father loves to tell the story of a 4-year-old boy who was finally put into timeout after battling with his mother. Sit in that chair until the timer goes off, the mother said in frustration. The boy sat down, fearing greater punishment, but said, "Okay, Mommy, I'm sitting on the outside, but I'm standing on the inside."
Still rebellious. I like it.
Your attitude colors every aspect of your life. It is like the mind's paintbrush. It can paint everything in bright, vibrant colors, creating a masterpiece, or it can make everything dark and dreary. Attitude is so pervasive and important that I've come to think of it like this. And then he lists some things, and I'm going to read them to you because I think it's important to share with my friends. It is the vanguard of your true self. Its root is inward, but its fruit is outward. It is your best friend or your worst enemy. It is more honest and consistent about you than your words. It is your outward look based on your past experiences. It is what draws people to you or repels them. It is never content until it is expressed. It is the librarian of your past. It is the speaker of your present. It is the prophet of your future. There's not a single part of your current life that is not altered by your attitude, and your future will definitively be influenced by the attitude you carry with you from today forward.
I think the most important thing that you said while you were reading that is you can't fake it. So when people come up to me and they say, "Tell me the truth, is Gary C. Johnson really that happy? Does Gary C. Johnson really never lose his temper? When I watch him on television or I listen to him on the radio, is that truly him?" And the answer is always the same. For 21 years I've been with you. I've never seen you lose your temper. I've never heard you raise your voice. You have always had a positive look no matter what has come the way. And what you're saying from this book is you can't fake it. You either live it.
You're either it or you're not.
You're it or you're not.
And it is your best friend or your worst enemy. It is the prophet that will predict your future. To me, that was the most profound thing of all, that your attitude is the prophet that will predict your future.
I just saw in the world of sports an athlete in the NBA who they cut him from the team because of his attitude. He had a $20 million contract, but his attitude canceled out that $20 million because it showed through, and they realized it was a bad attitude.
Read you a little bit more because I think this is good stuff that my friends need to know. Personality. Who are you? Two men were out fishing. When the fish stopped biting, they started to talk. One man praised his wife and extolled her many virtues, summing it up by saying, "You know, if all men were like me, they would all want to be married to my wife." And the friend said, "And if they were like me," the other replied, "none of them would want to be." Everybody's different. Each person is born unique as an individual, as I've told you so many times. We're all as different as our fingerprints. That's true even of siblings born of the same parents and brought up in the same household. Even twins who are genetically identical have distinct personalities. Your personality type, your natural wiring impacts your attitude. That's not to say that you're trapped by your personality, because you're not, but your attitude is certainly impacted by it. I thought that was interesting.
One of the most important discoveries I think you brought to my attention on this show is we can look at individuals and we can see the differences that we have physically, but we never think about the difference that we have inwardly from personalities, attitudes, thoughts.
And it's shaping your attitudes. Personality is one of them.
Absolutely.
Environment, what's around you. The environment you were exposed to growing up definitely has an impact on your attitude. Did your parents go through a divorce? That may cause you to have a mistrust attitude toward members of the opposite sex. Did someone close to you die? That may prompt you to have an attitude of emotional distancing from others. Did you grow up in a poor neighborhood? That may prompt you to have a tenacious attitude towards achievement. In contrast, it would make you want to give up more easily. So, environment can impact your attitude. Then I'm going to go on. The expression of others is number 3, what you feel. Most people can remember the harsh words of a parent or teacher even years or decades after the fact. Some people carry the scars of such experiences their entire lives. In my book, Winning with People, the pain principle states, hurting people hurt people and are easily hurt by them. Many times the hurts that cause people to overreact to others come as the result of negative words from others. And how many times have I said on this program, words are dangerous, words are harmful, and when you use words, you need to be impeccable with them.
You know, I listened to an interview of a famous comedian who's probably worth now $100 million. And he's about 50-some years old, but he was talking about going to therapy to try to get over the hurt from elementary school, grade school, that kids had teased him and the things that he said. And he said, I'm trying to be a better person because I wanted to get even with them. I wanted to go back and destroy their lives for what they did to me. But here's a guy, 40 years after elementary school, worth $100 million, and he's going to therapy over words and things that were said.
Holding a grudge.
Holding a grudge. And he said, I have now got to the point to where I can forgive them. And I thought, wow, what an impact.
Number 4, self-image. How you see yourself. We've discussed this before, my friends. How you see yourself has a tremendous impact on your attitude. Poor self-image and poor attitude often walk hand in hand. It's hard to see anything in the world as positive if you see yourself as negative. Now, how many times have I said to you, my friends, learn to love yourself. You can't love anything else if you don't. Number 1, you have to learn to love old number 1. Number 5, exposure to growth opportunities, what you experience in life. Again, we're talking about things that influence your attitude. Enlightenment writer and philosopher Voltaire likened life to a game of cards. Players must accept the cards dealt to them. However, once they have those cards dealt in hand, they alone choose how they will play them. They decide what risks and actions to take. The growth opportunities people experience are not equal. Therefore, you end up having to play the cards you're dealt. But it's your choice how you play them.
Yeah. You know, that makes me think of a quote one time of this father and son business couple. The father told the son, he said, the difference between you and me is I grew up with nothing and made $1 million. You took $1 million and turned it into nothing. So they had 2 different backgrounds, but you're pointing that out, that a lot of people have come from a poor or bad background to achieve great things, and then others had all the opportunity in the world and they didn't use it to their advantage.
Depends on how you choose to, again, it's your attitude.
Yes.
I'm going to read you one more thing from this book. Beliefs, what you think. Many of the factors I've mentioned that have come together to shape your attitude were set in motion in your past. But do you know what forms and sustains your attitude most today? It's your thoughts. As author and successful businessman Bob Conklin indicated in the following piece, thoughts make a huge impact on you. And this is what he read. I can make you rise or fall. I can work for you or against you. I can make you a success or a failure. I control the way that you feel and the way that you act. I can make you laugh, work, love. I can make your heart sing with joy, excitement, elation. Or I can make you wretched, dejected, morbid. I can make you sick, listless. I can be as a shackle, heavy, attached, burdensome. Or I can be as a prism's hue, dancing, bright, fleeting, lost forever unless captured by pen or purpose. I can be nurtured and grown to be great and beautiful, seen by the eyes of others through actions in you. I can never be removed or replaced. I am a thought. Why not know me better?
Well, that is so powerful. And what it gets to me on that is many of us did not realize we could control those thoughts.
He has one more sentence. He says, every thought you have shapes your life. What you think about your neighbor is your attitude toward him. The way you think about your job is your attitude toward work. Your thoughts concerning your spouse, the people on the highway during rush hour, and the government create your attitude towards each of those subjects. The sum of all your thoughts comprise your overall attitude.
You know, that's so important to realize that what you're thinking and the fact that you control those thoughts are basically going to determine where you end up and what you do. Pretty powerful, isn't it?
Well, your attitude is the prophet that foretells your future. I think that is so true. That's the most profound thing I think I've read today. And it's a true prophecy. If you have a bad attitude, I can tell you, you're going to have a bad future. If you have a good attitude, you got a real good shot of being happy and have a nice future.
And for
Bottom line.
And for those who would think they could fake it, it will not work.
You've got to build it. If you're having trouble with it, take it little bitty baby steps. Do it a little bit at a time. But change your attitude. Or keep the one you've got. It's your choice.
What a great lesson. I mean, and what I love about the lesson always is Gary is saying for us to think. You, me, all of us. Sit down and think and then be accountable to it. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at the same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. This is an advertisement.
Eastern Kentucky, Southern West Virginia, and Southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebolt Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today.